Hey everybody, welcome to episode 68 of the All JuveCast. We're following up the match in Champions League against Atletico Madrid, and I have my good friend Luca joining me. Luca, how are you doing, man?
Doing good this morning. A bit tired, but we do what we have to do, man.
Yeah, that's right, that's right. Always a lot to cover with Juve here, and this match, great result. We'll go through everything. Obviously, Juve clinching top spot in their group, winning 1-0. But let's get to basically what's gone on through this match, and we'll go through our feelings because it's a little tough. I usually watch the games twice. Luca, did you watch this one just once around? Did you kind of go over it again? Because I find it's a lot different when you watch Juve and you take the emotions out of it.
Yeah, definitely. I've taken your advice on that actually, and I have watched it twice. But like you said, once you go about it knowing the score and
Yeah.
ignoring the emotional part of it, it's a whole different game. You can analyze little things. Unfortunately, I still get a little bit of fire behind me thinking, like just this guy should be there. Why is he moving
Yeah.
type of thing. So yes, you get to watch it and analyze it a little bit better the second time around.
That's
That's
good.
for sure.
Well, let's get to the starting lineups. This one. So when you see the starting lineup, and we have Chesney in goal, we have Danilo on the right, Bonucci and Delict in the middle, De Chilio on the left. The midfield was Matuidi, Pjanic, and Bentancur, with Ramsey as trequartista behind Dybala and Ronaldo.
Mhm.
I see that lineup, and I'm actually happy all around. What were your thoughts?
I mean, there's always that speculation before a game, different sources giving different lineups. So I was slightly worried seeing something different, like expecting something different. But like you said, I was pretty content with it. A couple minutes before the game, seeing that lineup go up, I was like, okay, not bad.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Bentancur, for me, is no question. He'll have more to offer than our usual number six in that slot. And then, yeah, Matuidi, great defensively. And then Pjanic is a stalwart. And then Ramsey, coming off a great performance with Wales, but didn't impress too much his last performance for Juve. He's having a tough time, and in this one we'll get to it too. We'll get right into the game basically. Not a whole lot to break down individually throughout this one. The first half in general, I found Juve. Oof, we had great possession. We just again weren't having much to show for it, really.
Yeah.
We were moving the ball way better than we have in quite some time against Atletico. But they did very, very well almost right before our final play in the final third to just break everything up. Ramsey had a hell of a time trying to find some space. There really was no room for him. He was getting kind of attacked on Twitter, but honestly, they were all over him. They were shutting down the middle very, very well. And if we remember when we played them last year, they did the same thing and forced us out wide. Luckily for them, that's the only way we played last year, so it didn't really matter to them. But this one, we were getting back to what we were doing, working the ball outside, coming back inside, up top, back. There's a lot of the 1-2 passing, which was awesome. Dybala, absolutely incredible in this first half. It just having his way with Atletico. Whatever he wanted to do, he was doing. He looked fantastic. Bentancur, for me, had a very strong half. Delict, but and we were gravitating for some reason to the right side of the pitch. I'm not sure why, but it was kind of strange. Every time the ball was working over to De Chilio, it's almost like the kid had no options, and I kind of felt bad for him because it was really weird. That's 2 games in a row now where I've noticed we hit the left side of the pitch, and there's not really the cohesion there between the forwards and the midfields. There was at times where you could see our forwards with a huge gap right in the center of the pitch, nobody there, and both of them out wide. Ronaldo was just kind of free roaming, like to the extreme almost. I didn't really see much there, but yeah, DeCilio, barely any options when he has the ball. So we already know he's limited offensively with what he can give you. But man, we got to give the guy some options there, because it was all right side for me. It was really weird, and I couldn't figure it out why. I don't know if they designed it that way, but it's a couple games in a row now, so I don't really know. The last match, I attributed it to Bentancur not being used to the left side middle role.
Yeah.
And just kind of naturally moving into more central and to the right side. So I thought that's what it was. But in this match, Matuidi is our left midfielder, and he was still not given much support there. So I don't really know. And then, of course, not much to show for it through the half. Atletico not really getting anything too scary in terms of opportunities. I think they had one header maybe that was kind of close. Yeah. But Dybala sends us off at halftime with a free kick that just blew my mind. Like, not what I expected for him to go on goal. It's funny, they talked to Sarri, and they ask what's going through your mind, and he's like, well, the first thing you know as a coach is, what the hell are you doing shooting that ball, right? But credit to Dybala, like, the kid's on fire right now, and man, if he's not making that management look bad right now, I don't know what the hell, because they were trying to push this kid out, and I'm just loving every second of this, man. But let's take your thoughts on this first half and the Dybala free kick, everything. Like, how'd you feel after that first half?
Well, like you said, we had most of the possession first half, so already going into the game, I was somewhat confident, with the lineup, our form, knowing how Atletico's been playing lately, especially with the injuries they had going into the game. I was pretty confident, knowing especially all we needed really was a tie just to get what we needed, top of the table. So starting off the game, I guess I was more emotional, so I wasn't able to really take it all in. But second time around watching this first half, yeah, a lot of possession. But like you said, Atletico in their final third, they just defend like a real unit, even if they're missing their center backs. Like, yeah. I think both their starting center backs were out, right?
Yeah, they were both out.
Exactly, but still, what a unit. Simeone just knows how to build that wall in the back, and I got to give it to him every time we play them. Like, yeah, okay, there's games where, we're able to put 3 behind Oblak, but at the same time, it's not an easy 3 goals. It takes a lot of effort from our guys. So overall, first half, until the Dybala free kick, good possession, good movement. That left side, like you said, it's, credit where it's due. Matuidi actually had a decent first half to the game. I had usually I have my fun with Matuidi, and I'm picking on like how bad that pass was, or like,
yeah,
what the heck was that? He actually didn't have that bad of a game, I found.
Because he kept it simple.
Exactly.
And when he does that, he's one of the best in the world when he keeps it simple. His job is to win the ball, get it to the guy that needs the ball at feet, whether it was Ronaldo, whether it was, Pjanic, Ramsey, like, that's what he's got to do. That's all he has to do. For me, what gets me frustrated with Matuidi is when he gets deep into the final third. That's where he doesn't need to be. He just needs to hang on. If anything, Pjanic should be the one sliding more forward, and Matuidi should just offer coverage in behind him, right?
Yeah.
Because we need to get Pjanic a little further up the pitch more often. That was another thing. When we talk about how Juve was looking stronger overall at the start of the season, you saw more of Pjanic getting involved, getting in the top of that box, being more of an option, having shots. He was banging in some goals early on.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of gone away, and it's something we've noticed. The other thing is with Miralem and Dybala, I don't know why we always have to have both of them standing over the corner kicks. Let's get one guy to cover up for garbage, like, be an option. Maybe they get a little bit of space. We can just drive a hard low pass to the top of the box, and one of them can have it. I don't know why we need to stand both of them over for corner kicks. I want to see that kind of change too, because we actually got a goal from that, I think, when Pjanic was hanging out top of the box, and it bounced around, came out to him, and I think he hit it very early in the season.
Yeah, yeah,
but he's gotta be around there. Even Dybala, like one of them take it, you know. So if you want an in swinger, Dybala takes him from the right side, Pjanic takes him from the left, and let's get these other guys, one more guy in the area just to clean something up. But it's something I noticed. But yeah, Matuidi, he did great. Keep going with your thoughts on that first half.
yeah. So Matuidi, doing like you said, keeping it simple. So on that left side it was odd to see, all that space not being used. And I don't necessarily want to put the blame on Ronaldo because I know he was more on the left in terms of attacking sides compared to Dybala. I don't think that's his fault whatsoever. I think it's just the way things planned out. As you said, Ramsey, great form. I still think the guy's got a great career with us ahead if he stays in shape. I like where he's going with things. I like how he thinks. I just believe now, because a lot of people are giving him flack for his first half performance where he just did nothing. And I don't believe that's true. He made himself available
Yeah,
every opportunity. You see the guy screaming for the ball, and I love that.
yeah,
Love it. It's just, unfortunately, I don't think that role that he's playing right now behind the two strikers is maybe meant for him. He's got the vision and the touch for it, but I don't think he's completely comfortable there yet. I think that'll take some time. But I like what I'm seeing from it. I like
yeah,
where Sarri is going with that idea. I just think it should be, if it's going to play that system and he's going to play Ramsey there, it should be Ramsey all the time. Don't put, Burno one game and then maybe Ramsey afterwards. Pick one, stick to it, let them get comfortable, and work from there.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean Ramsey at the start of the year it was fantastic, but we were also moving the ball differently at the start of the year and it gradually picked up each match. It was like quicker 1-2s and we've kind of slowed down quite a bit. In this one, we started seeing the better passing, a little bit quicker. Our overall tempo, though, even though we discussed how much possession we carried in this first half, was still somewhat slow.
Yeah.
And we had a couple opportunities there where we did press a little bit in the first half here, won the ball back quickly, but then it's like we don't match things up. That's what I noticed. That's like the only way, because it's hard to look at Juve and explain what's happening or what you're feeling right in the time of emotion. When I watch this game at the time of emotion, the first time around, I'm thinking, okay, we've pressed, we've won that ball back, but then we're so slow in turning it around into some offensive attack. Like the ball
Yeah.
goes way too far back, and it's like, guys, it's got to be quicker. Like step on their throats. They're all pressed back. Like this is the opportunity. Swing it out, get a quick cross in. Like do something, but quicker. And it's just like it's not matching up, right? The press still has not been what it was at the start of the season, and I don't know why. But Miralem Pjanic was interviewed, and he spoke to Juve currently and Sarri, and he says, and how he's enjoying his football. And he said, and it's something I've questioned, and I actually said it after our last match. And it was, why do we always just seem so tired? And it doesn't matter who's out on the pitch. It doesn't matter if it's a guy that's fresh. We always look so tired. And Miralem Pjanic said, he said, I'm enjoying my football. Sorry, but I'm a little bit tired. Because there's a lot of running, and obviously he's been used like
Non-stop.
all the time nonstop. And it's just like, man, he's got to sort it out. I don't think the rotation that he's done has been too bad, but man, if we're running our guys ragged and that's affecting the performances, we got to take a step back and maybe reevaluate that, because granted the training is huge and crucial, but if it's to the point where every team you line up against makes you look like you're 75 years old, it's something you gotta seriously look at. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that, like as being a possibility, or has it been something you've noticed too, or
I didn't exactly. Well, I noticed the slow, let's say, transition from a high press, quick movement
Yeah.
from the beginning of the season till now, which is a lot slower. And a lot of people saying, we look like we're back in our Allegri days, which to me isn't completely false. But I think the only players that really should have any excuses here, and this is where I actually have to agree with you. And when you brought this up, and I think it was your last podcast, the idea of our players looking and feeling tired because they're always playing. I mean, look at the likes of Bonucci, Pjanic, who else? Well, Ronaldo before all this drama.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys, club, country, you name it, they were there every game. I think Bonucci did he even sit out for any of the qualifiers with Italy? Maybe the last one.
I
I'm not even
think,
sure.
yeah, just recently when they locked up.
The 9-1 game, yeah, he sat out for that one, I think.
I'm pretty sure.
Anyways, even Pjanic with Bosnia, he picked up that little knock and didn't go on for the second qualifier. But these guys, non-stop, and this is club, you know, club in terms of just your everyday Serie A plus Champions League. I mean, we haven't hit any of the other cups in the league yet,
Yeah,
but
the Coppa Italia,
that's already two leagues there. Plus, you're throwing in country. It's like it's gonna have its demands. And Bonucci's not getting younger. Neither is neither is Pjanic. We know that. So they're the only two I think that should really, if anyone deserves it, get a little bit of rest. Like Alexandro, you were saying it at 1.2. The guy was clocking in kilometer after kilometer
yeah.
after so many games. So, okay, granted now, I think through injury he's getting his rest, but it took to that point where he had to get injured to get finally that rest that he needed. So you've got a point on that, and I'm not going to say it's because they're pushing him too hard, because if that was the case, we would have had this issue in seasons past, and I don't think that's entirely the fact of it. But it wouldn't hurt, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Every player needs a day off. Whether you're professional or not, everyone needs a little bit of a break. And with Sassuolo, I think coming up this weekend, I think it would be a good time to, and it's not. This is the way I look at it too. It's not like we do depend on Pjanic to a certain extent, especially Bonucci as well. But with the lineups that we have, the players we have on that bench, I really fail to see the idea that we can't perform without them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm glad you said it that way too, because it's something that I've mentioned earlier on, where I was like, Sarri's definitely gonna have to not fear giving these guys the breaks that they require, right? He's got to pick the right matches, and he's got to do it. And you know what? Honestly, he's got the guys capable of providing the rest for these guys, if you ask me. DeCilio, it's 2 games in a row where I think he's actually been great at left back. Like, he's been fine, absolutely fine. Danilo, what are your thoughts on Danilo so far? For me, if I had to explain Danilo, and this Atletico match was probably the perfect example, I would say just enough. He's given us just enough. He's not giving us anything more, and he's not like terrible for me. He's just right there. He's just enough.
That's. I think that's the best way of seeing it. It's the same way I looked at DeCilio for the longest time. He's a club. He's a club player. He's there. He shows up on the games you need him to show up, but nothing more.
Yeah.
But that being said, DeCilio, it's been a while he's been with us, so I could say that firmly. Danilo, you question why he's been floating around from teams like Madrid and City, and now he's with us. It's not like he's sitting around on a mid-table bench. He's playing with high-level teams here, so there's got to be a reasoning to it. I think it's a little too early to be making too many assumptions. So we'll see. Just with De Ligt at the beginning of the season, how many people were on him for his mistakes? I say give it time.
Yeah.
He obviously hasn't been getting a lot of play time through his injuries, so I think it'll come. But you're right, he's doing exactly what he needs to do, so I can't really complain.
Yeah.
But there's times where I'm like, okay, if that was, let's say, Cuadrado, and I can't believe I'm saying that. If it was Cuadrado on the field, maybe it would have been a different outcome on that play. But again, we take what we have, and like you said, he's doing just what he has to do.
Yeah. I think part of the reason, touching on Quadrado, why he's stood out so much this season is because in games where, take this one for example, Quadrado, he provides you another attacking outlet. And in this one, probably would have stood out again because we needed it. We had all that possession. I think we finished the game with 5 total shot attempts.
Yeah.
And for the amount of possession we held in the first half, I would have expected 5 attempts only in the first half. So to get it in the full 90, it's a little disheartening. But again, like I said, for the first half, that's the best we've held possession and moved the ball around in quite some time. So hopefully we start making the transition back to where we were at the start. Because we are kind of in this little lull. We're still getting results, but we know the play could be much better because we've seen it. Nobody can just seem to figure out why. But let's get to the second half here. The second half against Atletico, it's just like, for me, just a really blah half of football. From us, like we went from dominating the possession to just sitting back and looking like we wanted to just manage this one out. And even if we ended up drawing, we were happy with it, having the 1-goal lead at half. And it's just kind of upsetting to see because Sarri's been saying the exact opposite as what he wants, and he wants the foot on the throttle, and he says all the right things, and I've loved everything he says, but it's just not getting backed up on the pitch. And that's where we get to this, and we'll discuss it after we touch on the rest of the second half here, but we get to this little players or Sarri battle that's kind of happening on Twitter amongst fans currently, and we'll get into that. But really, the only chance I can think of in the second that was really worth even talking about was Bernardeschi coming in about the 62nd minute, making a great run. It deserved the finish, but he ended up striking the post, and I was just like, holy smokes, Berna, like, where has that been? Unreal. Like, maybe he just has to play against Atletico. I don't know, because that was like the last time he was like, everybody thought that's it. He turned the corner, no looking back. Maybe he's just got to play Spanish. I don't know, but yeah, we pretty much hung on to this match. We allowed Atletico far too much in the second half, and able to build up their play. Like, we made it way too easy for them. They got a couple of great opportunities. Delict had a monster game, and it's funny we talk about Bernardeschi. He shortly enters the match, gets a great opportunity, hits the post, but then he's the one that can't hold possession, running back to the pit, running back towards the pass, that loses the ball, that gets this pass, a great pass by João Felix first of all. And Delict makes an incredible challenge. He hops up and he's pumped, and the crowd behind him, I think I got more excited watching the Curva. The crowd.
Yeah, they were just jumping.
And, Bonucci quickly over there, giving him props. And then Chesney with the embrace. This kid had a monster game. And shame on anybody that was criticizing him early in the season. It was far too early. He's learning a new language, learning new teammates, learning a new style of play. It's only a matter of time. This kid's 20 years old. He's been getting better and better and better and better each match. Yep. It's incredible to watch. But in this one, it was an absolute treat. And, what did I say? I asked if Delict means worth every penny in Dutch after this match, because it should, or it should mean highway robbery, because that's what I feel like at the amount we paid when you look at a guy like Harry friggin' Maguire and what he got paid, so it's like, this is an absolute steal for Juve. It was fantastic to watch. He was a monster, an absolute monster. Chesney was acting promptly every time he had to throughout this one. Everybody was just digging in, and we made it through the match. Morata Morata, I think his heart's still in Juve because he had an absolute tap, and the one time we completely lost coverage and everything. Yeah, and he just, I don't know how. I still don't know how. It's pretty funny, but I'll take it. And actually, looking back, I'm pretty sure he would have been offside regardless when I watched it back. Yeah, Morata looked offside.
I hope so for his sake.
But it didn't go in, so that was a good thing. But yeah, we ended up taking off Dybala for Higuain.
Okay.
And now we get into the interesting part of the match. So we know that we ended up winning 1-0, top the group. Everything's good. Now, this substitution, you can look at it two different ways. You know, for me, gut reaction instantly. Sarri doesn't want to deal with the media storm, and he doesn't want to put through Ronaldo through all this crap again, and he's just going to ride it out. Dybala was easily our best player. De Ligt probably right there with him. You could argue one or the other for man of the match. Dybala's ridiculous goal edges him for me. Mm-hmm. So the other way you can look at it is you have CR7 who's in a slump, who does not look himself, who's frustrated with Juve, but Juve doesn't play Luxembourg and Lithuania, so I don't really care what he did in those Portugal matches, to be honest. He just hasn't looked himself. In this one, he had a breakaway, and he got caught by a midfielder who isn't very fast. And it's just like, dude, you are not yourself. Figure it out before you take the pitch again. Because we don't need a Ronaldo at whatever percentage this is. We need Ronaldo at 100 in the important, crucial matches. And you know what? If this is what we get, sit it out, man. Get things right, sort it out, and then come out. For me, this was not playing Ronnie through to try and get him like a goal or trying to get him out of this funk. This was strictly not wanting to deal with the bullshit. That's just my opinion. Your thoughts on making this? And here's the thing. It's a 1-0 game in there. Dybala, easily our best player. Well, he's got more threat of getting the next one than Ronaldo did in this one. So for me, it's just like, this game's not over. But again, probably happy with the 1-goal lead, even if we end up drawing, knowing we're okay. But for me, I don't know. I think CR7 needs to sit, and I think he needs to get fully healthy and then come in. But your thoughts when that change happened and what you feel about that?
The entirety of the game, this is a topic I definitely want to touch on because, like everybody else, my eyes were on Ronaldo whenever he had the ball and trying to see, what can we make of what's going on right now. The only way we could really figure out is just by looking at how he plays. The way he started out, it felt like he was forcing, you felt like he was pushing himself to do that much more. He was doing the step overs, giving these cut passes that were not unnecessary, but I feel like it was Ronaldo trying to be Ronaldo from Manchester days. Which, okay, granted, it's been a while you've been gone. You have to silence the media, do what you have to do. But going forward in the match, I felt like his touches and his runs were just groggy, slow. He went from prime Ronaldo to Matuidi form in that sense. He looked chunky. He didn't feel streamlined.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because he missed the last game, or maybe because he's in some sort of funk. So for me, I don't think he had a bad game necessarily. He just didn't have the game Dybala was having. That was very clear. So when the 70th minute, 60th minute came around, and I see Higuain warming up and way on the side, I'm literally talking to myself at this point. I'm like, Sarri should change Ronaldo. That's what I'm thinking. That's what everybody's thinking.
Yeah.
But he's not going to do it. He's gonna, like you said, he's gonna just ride it out, let the media, shut up for once, and just keep him on. In my mind, I'm like, you know what? I'm not surprised he made that change. I would have been very shocked if he took out Ronaldo again.
Yeah.
But I was really hoping that, he made the switch. Higuain connects with Ronaldo. He slides one in, and we end all this now. But unfortunately, that's not what happened.
Well, yeah, and as that match kept going, and Ronaldo, just looking off, I kind of laughed to myself because I'm thinking it's gonna come up again. He's gonna get in a position where Sarri might have to change him, and I was like totally thinking we were gonna end up in that, and I said I don't think he's gonna do it, and this is again falling into one of those cons of having a guy like CR7 on your club, because here we are in a situation where it handcuffed Sarri. So, and I totally believe it handcuffed him. And I totally believe he just didn't want to deal with that shitstorm after the fact. And it's a shame. It's a shame that kind of thing happens. Now, Ronaldo, here's the thing that, for me, we have the fanboys that we've now had to come, and besides all the crap that they talk about Juve and all this, like, I find it very, very funny because they're saying, well, he needs a world-class left back and left mid. So if that's the case, how come he bagged a bunch of goals for us last season and looked great? He's got the same players around him this year. And if that's the case, how come Dybala and Higuain are just excelling this season? That's bullshit. And if you're poster child there, and this guy who's ultimately the GOAT, one of the GOATs, if he's got to rely on all that around, no, he should be the one. Here's the same group of guys that when he left Madrid were shitting on Madrid because of how poor they did once Ronaldo left.
Yeah.
And then now they're saying because he's struggling at Juve, oh, well, he needs Cruz and Modric and Marcelo. It's like, well, what do you say? You can't have it both ways to protect your poster child, right? It doesn't work that way. For me, everybody else is excelling. As far as our attackers go, they're playing fantastic. They're working hard. When I look at Ronaldo himself, he looks off in every way, shape, form. He looks off mentally, probably because he's pissed because he can't do what he usually does, because he's probably in pain because he does have something that's nagging him. But he looks slower. Everything looks like a struggle. Routine ball possession looks like so challenging for him. It's just like he needs to get healthy. He absolutely has to. In this particular match, it's funny when we want to talk about tactics too, because the fanboys were trying to say that he got subbed. Dybala got subbed due to tactics. I see that as bullshit too. And the reason I see it as bullshit is because they say, well, Ronaldo's got far better hold-up play. So in a 1-0 match, I said, in this particular match, if you could tell me that Dybala wasn't superior in every aspect of this match over Ronaldo, you're an absolute liar. Dybala was hands down far superior to Ronaldo, period. And it wasn't even close in this one. And again, the only argument one could make is that he left Ronaldo on just to try and get him out of his funk or whatnot. But for me, his body language, Ronaldo's body language says it all. There's something wrong. He's frustrated. That needs to be sorted before he keeps taking the pitch for these, because it's not going to get any better with him trying to do it without being fully fit. Is there anything you want to touch on there, Luca, before we get to the next?
You know what? It's a slight worry, and well, I'm just gonna bring it up quickly. I was very impressed, and I respected Sadio more, pre-international break for what he did, by taking off Ronaldo not once but twice. So for me, like beforehand I was very respecting of him because in my mind it's like if the team comes first, everybody knows that. But now my worry is because this game we know he kept him on because maybe he wanted to get him out of that funk, or maybe he just didn't want to avoid the media. My worry now is, let's say, come February, March, when we need to, a game, we need that win, and we need players to step up, and you see that Ronaldo is not doing it. What ends up happening? Is he gonna chicken out again and just cover up for the media, or is he gonna do what he did against Milan and just pull him out like 50th minute?
Yeah.
I'm worried a bit about that, and I'm hoping that this gets solved now before the holidays. Coming up this weekend, maybe he bags 2 goals, and it's all done with. No one has to worry. But if it continues this way, it's going to be a lot of drama.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It can't continue this way. It's this dark cloud that's looming over the club right now. That is something nobody needs, because everybody's getting asked about it. Sorry, the players like Pjanic, Bonucci, like it's just like they don't need this crap right now. We're undefeated, but we're in this lull of play. We're trying to pick it back up again. This is the last thing we need, right? Mm-hmm. Granted, they're professionals. They should know how to deal with this. It should just kind of keep it, but still, it's gonna weigh on you to an extent. The repeated questions, the repeated drama that's just around it's not necessary, right? So I hope we figure it out. This particular match, so we played a solid game defensively first half. We dominated play, nothing to show for the entire match, really. We talked about it, 5 total attempts. Dybala's incredible strike ends up being the difference. Atletico doubled us on attempts easily. We only finished with 2 on target. The switching of play and forwards being those options and sticking to options, the press not being there, just small periods. The killer mentality still needs to be built amongst the squad.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I felt at the start of the year when we started off strong and each performance showed progression, I thought that's great. The killer mentality will come later on, but now it's like we're stuck in second gear. We got to go back to finding that play before we can really build that killer mentality. But for me, some of the things that stand out are Sarri needs to realize the guys that need to be in that lineup, and he needs to do it properly. Sami Khedira entered this match for the I can't remember the exact minute, but he entered the latter stages, and again did classic bailing on his man and just mistakes that stood out. And for me, it's got to stop with the amount of guys we have. I've said it so many times, but it's so frustrating, and people are now getting on me because of how much I talk about it on the podcast. But this is the kind of thing when you want to complain about play, our overall style, and you want change, and you're looking for all these names out there on the market and everything. We have far better personnel than this man. Okay, we have far better options. The fact that Sarri wanted to roll into late November, now December, with Sammy being a key cog is mind-blowing. It's absolutely mind-blowing. But then we want to take a new addition like Ramsey or Rabiot, and we want to rag on them hard. These guys should have been getting those minutes, and they could be far ahead of where we are with Sammy in there at any point in time. It's just there's no doubt in my mind. Bentancur had a fantastic performance in this Atletico match. He was great. He did he lost the ball a couple times, but he won it so much, and he was pressing the play and he was moving up. He won that penalty for the free kick. He won that
Yeah.
foul.
Yeah.
Great run, taking the guy on deep. And he is by far ahead of Sammy too. We need to use the guys we have. We need to figure it out, but we need to stop with this, Bernardeschi having a bad performance and then riding it out like 5 games straight. No, get Ramsey back in there. Like, figure it out. If it didn't work, like, let's move on. Let's get the rotation happening. Don't just force it. Like, this is it. This is what we're gonna do. That's part of it. But what are some of the things you're thinking as to why we're again stuck in second gear? It's funny because we had that issue last year. We could never break out of second gear, and it's like we're going through the same things. And someone brought something up, very, very good take and good angle, and we're all wanting sorry ball and everything like that. And he brought up a very, very good angle, and it was, has being a Juve changed sorry? Because obviously a Juve, it's all about winning. Yeah. And that's the only thing that counts. Has it changed sorry? You'd have to think a guy like Khedira will not fit his play. When you think of like the Napoli, the strong Napoli, when Sarri was there, a guy like Khedira is not gonna like fit in that style. If you're telling me Mario Mandzukic won't fit his style of play, how in the hell does Sami Khedira fit the style of play? Like, to me, it doesn't match up, right? So the fact that he keeps getting this and he keeps going safe, like, the Matuidis, the Khediras and whatnot, I'm okay with Matuidi, but it does bring up a good question, like, is he second guessing himself? Is he doing things just to maintain? Is he scared to take chances? Is he fearful of giving guys rest? Because Juve's kind of altered that. We know he never rotated much prior to coming to us, but he also didn't have the depth that he had with Juve, right? But the biggest thing, you're going from clubs that they're not true title contenders. Yeah. The expectations are not what they are at Juve. Mm-hmm. Has that changed? Sorry. It's a great take, and it was like, it really had to make me sit back and think about that. And possibly there's a few things you could say but when you look at his substitutions, he's been bang on almost every match with his substitutions. So I don't know, like, there's a few matches there where, oh my God, he won it on his substitutions and those adjustments and stuff. So I don't know if it's necessarily changed him completely, but yeah, maybe a bit. Time will have to tell, right? But what are your thoughts on that?
I was gonna say, but prior to that statement you said, I was gonna say maybe it's just another question of just time and getting used to his style. But I don't think that's really the case, because I think that's the only real possibility people can look at. But then the way you just said it, I mean, maybe that's true. Maybe, because if you do look at Sarri's past compared to now, there is a huge change already with the fact that he was doing so much rotation, and I had nothing wrong with it. Like, if he's able to implement his style and rotate, like, by all means do it. And the fact that he was able to implement his style at the start of the season with the likes of Khedira and Matuidi, it was like, this guy's a god. But now, come December, and we're not even able to pick up any type of pace or build up that play at all. It's like, okay, you learn now that we were able to do it with these guys, but now they're not doing it anymore. They're not cutting it. Exactly like you said. If you see that they're not having a good game, like Khedira now, it's not once, it's not twice, it's a couple of games now where it's just like, he's not performing. We see it. Yeah. Keep him off, Like this game, this Atletico game, we were way better without him, and everybody saw that. It was clear. It was night and day. Start either Bentancur or, well, in the Champions League we can't start Chan, obviously, and that's a topic I'm not going to start right now. We'll save it for later. But it's like, okay, Matuidi's doing his job. Pjanic, granted, he's tired, but he's still doing that much better than Khedira, even at his like lowest. and Bentancur, like, my God, what a game! I think this is the best game I've seen him play since last season. It was incredible. Um, so now it comes down to the question of finding that core. Like, I think he's done a lot better than Allegri in terms of finding that core team that he's going to field. Like his starting 11, and I give him props for that. But now it's a question of the tiny differences, those tiny moments where that second where Khedira is not picking up his guy and we get scored on. Like that Atalanta game, that exact perfect example.
Yeah.
Their goal was because, well, between him and Cuadrado not marking that man, all it takes is one slip up, and a club like Juve that needs to win every game, we can't afford that slip up. So
Yeah.
learn from the mistakes, apply the changes, and stick to it. Like, I don't think we should be switching players unless there's a mistake made and you see that they have to. Stick to it. The good performers, like you said, if you see Ramsey's having good games, keep him on, keep him starting. The guy should get his minutes. Granted, Rabiot is injured right now, but the guy was doing well. He should have started a couple games now if he wasn't injured, and I definitely think he should get more time when he comes back. And same goes for Bentancur. The guy should be starting every game right now with his form.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you touched on it. I mean, Khedira's been poor for a while now, and that's my point, is he should not have been on those starting 11 for all that time. And has that affected turning the corner and getting out of second gear? Possibly. Who knows where Bentancur's state could have been. He had a fantastic game against Atletico. Now his confidence should have shot up. Follow that up with a starting spot.
Yeah.
Don't have the Bernardeschi that puts together a lousy performance 4 or 5 games in a row. Okay, it's like, boom, follow up the hot streaks and get it going, get it built up, get everybody's confidence up, and get it going.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see. But it's fun with Sarri. Like, I don't know if maybe at the start of the season, the amount of goals that we let in really quickly started to change them. They were all like kind of set pieces and PK, like just weird, like it wasn't a lot from open play, but I don't know if that kind of changed him and he put his focus, on how we're going to attack that. It's gotten much better. I don't know if he kind of wanted to slow them down in order to get, Delict brought up and feeling comfortable and everything. Like, I don't know if it was something that he kind of did and now they're stuck in this transition. But a few of these performances now have felt very Allegri-esque.
Yeah.
And it's tough. We want to see it break through. One of many fans' expectations was we would break through once we get Costa back. Douglas Costa played 20-25 minutes. This guy can't even stay healthy after a cameo appearance. To say it's frustrating is a huge understatement. And is it an issue now? For me, it has to be. It's just too much.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't care if when the guy is in the lineup, he is second to none as far as ability to beat guys and create and danger, if he's only in for a fraction of every season. It's just, you can't count on him. And that's a huge problem. And it should have been a huge wake-up call as to why we need to sort out our system and style amongst the team and not focus so much on our individuals and their abilities. We need to have the unit working cohesively again, like we were at the start of the season. Because at the start of the season, you touched on it, didn't matter that it was Matuidi, it didn't matter that it was Khedira. It was all just, the ball movement was incredible. Everybody was making the proper runs. It made more sense. It looked so much more organized. This is a huge wake-up call as to why we need to get to that point. Douglas Costa, where do you go with a guy like this from now? Is this enough to say, you know what, we got to figure something out there? For me, I mean, if you can't count on a guy, what's he worth to you? Ultimately,
I was thinking about this because, as soon as I heard the injury update after the game, I was like, you got to be shitting me, like, didn't we just get him back? So I mean, it had me thinking, if he's gonna keep getting injured, yes, like we already had the idea of, possibly him leaving the last transfer window, and I hate to bring this up because I love the guy, I absolutely love him, and there's no one saying that he doesn't have the ability, but if he's not able to stay fit longer than 2, 3 games and make a difference, especially with all the talent that's out there. Like we have all these links to either Chiesa, Zaniolo, or any other, like offensive player nowadays. Why don't we just consider our options, maybe cash out on Costa while we can, and bring in a younger guy who will last, that amount of time without getting injured, and then not only that, but even bring in maybe a new age and a new, like generation to the club. Like we're known for bringing in players and making them club legends for a long time now. Maybe we need, that new youth spark, because look at our players. I mean, I'm not saying we have an old team, but we definitely don't have a young one. And it's about time we start looking at, the up and coming young Italians out there. And because everybody's saying it, so we might as well consider it. So, maybe in the summer, consider the idea, bring in a guy like Chiesa. Like, I'm not going to say that he's a better player. Definitely not. Right now, I take Douglas Costa any day of the week.
Yeah.
But let's say that day of the week, he's not able to play because his calf gave out on him again. Like, what are we supposed to do? We can't rely on someone like Bernadeschi to take the wing and do what he used to do. Unfortunately, we don't have that right now.
I think Juve needs to become a little bit better at managing who they chase and why they're chasing them. And the reason I say that is, for me to miss out on both Sensi and Barella was a failure.
Yeah.
For Juve. Here we are, a club with the aspirations that we have, and we're gonna extend SK6. We're gonna, just for those that are getting bothered at me mentioning him, but we're gonna extend him. We're gonna possibly extend Matuidi, which I can defend to some extent, but my God, man, like Sensi, especially for me, was like, why are we not gonna lock one of these two individuals between him and Barella? For me, it was a no-brainer. I get it. We're in on Zaniolo. We're in on Chiesa. Apparently, Chiesa has said he will not go to Merda and he wants Juve. That's great for me. Zaniolo's above him. I'd push for Zaniolo over him, just looking at our club and whatnot. But these are misses. And what I mean by Juve getting better at balancing who they chase is because I think sometimes the allure of the name and the status blinds them into where they should go, potentially. And Douglas Costa is going to hold a lot more flash to his name and everything like that than, say, a Stefano Sensi or a Nicolo Barella. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
Juve can't fall into that trap. To miss those guys is just, for me, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Both of them, let alone one of them, would have been huge in our midfield for us. Especially factoring in the style Sarri wants to play and whatnot. It's crazy to me that they didn't get in on that, but these are things that I'm noticing now, and hindsight's 2020. But I was saying that when we figured out the numbers on those guys and what they were worth and whatnot, especially Sensi, it's like you got to get the guy.
Look,
But
the past. We can't. There's so much that could be said and done, and it's unfortunate. I got to give it to you. I'm on your side for this, but I always try to look at it. I try very hard to look at the positive of it. Like we did bring in we did get Ramsey for nothing. Rabiot will have his time, and I think it'll come soon. He was a good addition, I believe. But you're right, like guys like Senzi, but like they're both injured now. So right now, I don't feel as bad about it.
But
But
here's
you're
the
right.
thing. Here's the thing. We got Ramsey on a free. We got Rabiot on a free.
Free.
But like we're extending guys. It still all comes back to us handcuffing ourselves on extensions. That
Yeah.
affects everything down the road, and that's what people have to understand. Because I got into this on the last podcast where somebody says those extensions don't matter because they just sell those guys anyways. They do matter
Yeah,
because
they do
it's
matter.
harder to sell. We already know Juve is
Can't
not the
sell.
best selling team, so it does. It affects everything down the line. So here we are getting guys on freeze because we've got cash locked up on guys we shouldn't have, where we could have bought somebody that's helped the team out much more. And sometimes it really sucks because you got to separate that emotion. Because I love Mandzukic, but it's time to move on. It's crazy to me, but we'll see what ends up happening. It looks like there's a lot of youngsters now that are getting linked to Juve. So we'll see what happens. We'll talk about a few of these guys. Obviously, we mentioned Zaniolo, Chiesa. The news breaking out that Chiesa wants Juve. Um, Donnarumma has also been linked to join Juve in 2020. For me, it's an easy no, unless he can play midfield. That nobody knows about it. But I'm more than happy with Chesney, and Juve's expected to extend Chesney's contract pretty quick here, and for me, that's great. I'm more than happy. I think Chesney is grossly underrated amongst goalkeepers in the world here. But yeah, your thoughts on that little tidbit of info come up.
Look, you would have told me this a year ago. I even like I have a friend who's a Milan fan, and I bust him all the time, saying like, "Oh, Gigi's gonna come with us soon." Give it a, like already when he was about to leave, I think 2 years ago, and we had rumors about Buffon leaving. I was like, "Okay, it's happening. He's gonna end up coming with us," and the way it turned out, he's still there, and we still we've got arguably one of the best, in my mind, the best goalkeeper in Europe right now. I think he's beyond underrated. He is just always never, he's always ignored. But I think, like people were saying this season, like, oh, he's stepping up to the plate. Like, no, if you guys have been paying attention, and last year he saved our butts so many times. I'm thinking just right back to I think the first leg against Atletico when he just tipped the chip from
He's
Griezmann.
been solid everywhere he's been, man. His stint with Roma, he was fantastic. Like
Fantastic. I
he's a
think his
great
Arsenal
goalkeeper.
days were probably the only time people look back
Yeah,
at, like a dark spot. But even then, he was still young and was
yeah,
Arsenal.
yeah.
So, like, I have to applaud Chesney, and with Buffon there too. Like I don't see the need really right now for Donnarumma. Um, with all this being said, I don't think it'll happen. And this is something I wanted to bring up also. A lot of people shun, like they don't look at Chesney. They're like, okay, Buffon's still there. But I want to put a little glimpse on Pinzolio, our third goaler. Like nobody talks about this guy, and I think he deserves a little shout out. The guy's been at our club for years now as a third string. No one's ever complained about him, and I have to just give him the guy a props because he is our number one fan. You see him on the bench, just sitting there next to Buffon, and they're both like looking like little kids, like staring in awe, and they're always so into it. Whether it's at the team practices or the training, whatever it is, the guy is always giving his 100, and he gets like 2 minutes of playing time every season. So I have to applaud that guy. I absolutely love him as much as I love Buffon. Like I know he doesn't get much talk for because he doesn't play, but I got to give it to that man. Absolutely love his heart.
Man, Pinsolio, that's twice this season on the podcast, getting a little friggin'. Oh man, we might have to get Carlos Corner going here or something for Pinsolio there. I like it. I like it. Yeah, no, it's highly unnecessary for me. I agree with you as far as Donnarumma goes. Not maybe in a couple of years, but not now. And in a couple of years, I'm sure the next big thing, right? So who knows? But yeah, it's just unnecessary. That was the joke I made. And that was what I put out on Twitter. Was can he play midfield?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Because yeah, it's just not necessary. Little tidbit of news coming out from a few sources. Obviously, take everything with a grain of salt, but apparently Juve have backed out of interest in Rakitic. If Emery Chan eventually leaves in January, I will be pretty upset. I was upset at all the comments Chan made when he was left off the Champions League list. That wasn't because I agreed with the decision. It was just I didn't like how he went about it.
Yeah.
Keep those things in house. Just get your head down, grind. We all know you should have been on that list. And it's sticking out like a sore thumb now. But it could still change. Obviously, Sarri can change his list. I believe it is in January when he can change his champs list, or maybe
exactly.
after the draw, December 16th,
Yep.
where we'll find out who we face in the first knockout round. But, it's crazy to me. Backing out of interest in Rakitic, I think, is going to depend on what ends up happening in that situation. But it's a situation they brought on themselves, and Sarri's kind of at the helm for this one. To say that Emery Can doesn't fit your system and he's not one of Sarri's favorites, and again, I can't. It naturally comes up because they play the same position. So people want to get on me for attacking Sammy all the time. It's just because we're literally talking about the main position that has been an issue for Juve for quite some time now. So you guys have to just either deal with it or just don't discuss Juve tactically or as far as transfers go or positionally, because it's going to come up. Emery Can offers much more than Sami Khedira, just like Bentancur does, just like Ramsey does, just like Rabiot does. It's just the way it is. So to get this guy in on a free, he played very well for us last season. I was happy with his performances. I felt he got strong towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
What a waste if it's all done now. And this goes back to us discussing Sarri and realizing he's got to go with the hot hand, and if it ain't working, it's got a next man up mentality, and he's got to get into that. But your thoughts on the situation, obviously with Emery Can and Juve apparently backing out of interest at Rakitic?
I've got like a lack of words here because it's like I've been wanting to say so much since like this has happened, and I've voiced it on Twitter, and people who follow me know that. And every time you bring it up in the podcast in the last couple of weeks, I'm in my car listening to it, and I'm just like, I'm agreeing with you guys 100% of the time. There's no argument as to who should be starting. Now, I'm trying to look at it at a standpoint of, what's probably going to end up happening. What are the probabilities here? Odds are Chan does leave. Odds are it's looking like it, and sad and frustrated are two things I definitely will be. So now the question would be, what happens after this? Rakitic, I was not against the idea. I think he's a little old. And that might be, it might take some people off because he's obviously not as young as Chan is. I might be not sure exactly the age difference. But then again, there's a reason he's not getting playing time at Barcelona. And I'm not saying he's a bad player at all, but do we need the likes of Rakitic for the salary we're probably going to pay for him? I don't think so. Like, we're already paying high salaries as it is. So if anything, keep Chan. He could do just as good as a job, I think. And obviously that's not a worry. But if we get rid of Chan, it's going to be a question of just bringing somebody else in to replace him, because then we're going to be, as always, as Juventus is, short-staffed, and then come crunch time, we're not going to have enough players, and we're going to end up fielding, Sami Khedira against one of the top contenders in Europe for the Champions League, which I don't want to see happening come May.
Yeah.
I want to see Emre Can on that list. I want to see him going head to head with these top clubs because he's proved it with Liverpool. He's proved it with us last season. Like, what more does he have to do?
Yeah. And going back to the age gap, so Rakitic is 31 years old. Emre Can is 25.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. Like, different skill sets between the two players. I like to think 31's not old based on my age. But yeah, there's a big gap there. Emre Can though, he's actually like deceivingly pretty quick for a guy his size and the physicality that he plays with. He's maybe a little slow with the ball movement, but I think that could be groomed. I see that in him. Rakitic has a pretty good skill set. He's a pretty silky player. He's got experience for sure, no doubt, which could come in crucial. I just think, I don't know. I think if we make these type of moves, I think we're just gonna get flooded and run into a situation where we kind of almost have, where we've flooded it now on freebies, and now you have too many guys and you're not getting enough time, and you're gonna just piss them off. The only way Emre Can, like, I would accept it is if by some crazy thing we get like Can, Mandzukic out, whatever, and somehow work Pogba coming home, and which I don't. I know.
Yeah.
I already know the logic, but I'm saying this would be the type of thing that would make it acceptable, because you're actually making a huge upgrade.
Yeah, exactly.
So if it's a matter of, like we talk about, you've got two completely different style midfielders. So is the change that drastic? I don't know, because we don't know where our team is because we're stuck in second gear. Is Rakitic the guy that's going to turn it around? Maybe. Is Emre Can going to be the guy that turns around if all of a sudden he gets a bunch of minutes? Maybe. Who knows? The thing is that Sarri has kind of squandered the experimental portion of the season.
Exactly.
By rewarding poor performances with starting spots. Mm-hmm. And that's just my opinion. Not everybody has to agree, but for me, you should have been rewarding the hot starts, the hot performances, the hot hands, and we should have been building gradually. As soon as it started to regress, he needed to take a deeper look and figure out why and get those guys out. You always get the same argument. Well, he sees them in training and he sees them day in, day out. Yeah. Okay, but look at what's going on the pitch on match day. Mm-hmm. Because that is what we are all seeing, and it's not up to par, and it's not consistent with what we had at the start of the year. So, if we're going to make any changes, it's got to be a significant upgrade. Otherwise, why are we doing it? But we'll see what ends up happening. There's so much that could change, turn around, but I don't know. I have a feeling Pogs will end up at Real Madrid. I'd love for him to come back. I'd have some jerseys that come right back into play, which would be fantastic. But I wanted to talk to you, Luca, about jerseys, because you had a great story about your Bonucci one.
Oh, good God.
Hey, I would say you should be confident in rocking that again. Okay? He's been great this season.
He's been great. Yeah.
He's done what he had to do. And you know what? My beef with him is done. He made a mistake. He said it was a mistake. He's left. You know what? There's some personality things there. if anybody's listened to my podcast enough from last season, I probably have the same issue with Allegri, and I probably would have left. I might have went to Serie B if that was the case. I could totally see it. It is what it is. I'm happy with Bonucci, and you should be happy to rock that again, my friend.
You know what? Yeah, definitely. I think for that, I haven't looked at it at that angle yet. I've been thinking to myself, okay, he's performing well, the team's looking good. That's all that matters. But I didn't think about the fact that I could now wear my jersey with pride.
Yeah, man, you should be comfortable in rocking that again, man. He's done a hell of a job this season, while trying to adapt De Ligt into the league as well, and filling in for Chiellini, which would feel like a size 30 boot if they made one, because the guy's huge. Fantastic to see Chiellini running around last week on the pitch. Can't wait. So that's kind of all our topics we had to hit on. Luca, I'm just going to ask you if there's anything that you wanted to bring up that we may not have touched on. Now's your chance. Otherwise, we'll finish off with a couple fun questions.
No, we covered most of the things I really want to talk about. Everything I was really, like emotional about in the last couple of weeks. Quickly, just want to talk. I just want to talk Demiral again. I know there's been a lot of talk about Demiral, and you know what? I worry, like we said, about the minutes that Bonucci is getting, and the tiredness factor of it. But my biggest worry, it's not even a question of resting Bonucci now, because we do. Obviously, everyone wants to see Demiral play, but now with De Ligt playing so well, you can't. It's not like you could just say, okay, put Demiral and De Ligt on the same line. You could say it, but realistically, that's a bit of shot to yourself. Like, shooting yourself in the foot. Like if De Ligt was having issues communicating with Bonucci at the start, how is he going to communicate with Demiral? Like, both of them are still relatively new. So as much as I'd like to see it, unfortunately, I think we're going to have to wait until De Ligt gets a rest, and and Demiral can get a start with Bonucci alongside him. So I'm curious to see what Sarri does with it. I'd really, really like to see Demiral get some minutes. The guy's incredible, and he definitely has that spark, that grinta that everybody is looking for. So, not to say have it, I'm saying I love this pitch.
Yeah, I put a poll out there on Twitter probably about 3 weeks ago, and it was out of these 4 players, which sale would you stop? It was Deschilio, Bentancur, Emre Can, and Demiral. And Demiral had 50% amongst all those guys.
Yeah, and Bentancur was second.
And I mean, it's a shame he's not getting minutes. And for a while there, you speculated it had to do with what he did at the national team, but oddly enough, in this particular match against Atletico, Dybala went over, and he was calling him down, and then gave him the salute. I don't want to get into the whole politics thing.
Definitely not. No.
But there was people, obvious, and I understand, but they were getting fired up about that, and they said, Dybala, you're wrong in this instance. You shouldn't have done it. But what if, because it shows you some possibilities of what could be going on behind the scenes. That here's a guy like Dybala, he battled the same thing, with Allegri, getting minutes, felt he should have been getting minutes, was used as a box-to-box midfielder. I know. Anyways, and to show him, get him to come down, give him the salute, just kind of back him, whatever. And Demiral's response was huge. He was loving it.
I love it. Yeah, I love it.
Maybe, just maybe, if Demiral scores for Juve, maybe he'll do the salute. Maybe it has nothing to do with the politics side of it. Maybe it's just his thing. Maybe
exactly.
I've seen hockey players celebrate like that and do like. And again, I'm not going to get into the politics. I'm not ruling out that his celebration when he was with the national team was done to that, but it's all speculation. Why has he not been getting minutes? Is it because of that? Who knows? But Dybala did that anyways in a show of solidarity for Demirol. I believe everybody's behind him. I think everybody knows what he can do, and yeah, I wouldn't want to lose that guy.
No, definitely not.
I'm with you. I'm with you
Yeah,
on
yeah.
that one.
I have to say, I really like that. Like, I know there was a lot of celebration, like a lot of mix going on in what Dybala did in his celebration, and I have to say, I really like that. There's nothing I love more than this about this team than the right now, especially this year with the amount of, I'd say, cohesiveness that's going on. Like like I said before with Pinzolio and Buffon on that bench. Every time the camera pans to that bench, my heart just melts. There's every player there looks like they're just so into it. There's maybe that one or two that look a little off. But you mentioned in the last podcast, or maybe it was Giovanni that brought it up. But Emre Can, when he was motivating Demiral to get up and get ready. I saw that glimpse, and when he brought it up, I freaked out. I thought it was the only one. It was amazing to see. Like, this club, it's beautiful to see. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I want Chant to stay, because if there's anybody, and I know he's only been around for one season, but if there's anybody that can embody the spirit of Juventus in this team right now, I mean, there's obviously the likes of Dybala, Buffon, Chiellini, but for me, Chan is like what, and that's why I was so happy when he joined the club, because he was such a passionate individual, and you saw it the way he played. He is, through his veins, a Juventus player, and I love to see that. And that's why, if anything, if he leaves, I will be utterly, just probably equally as hurt as if we would have got rid of Dybala during the summer, because to me, he is just that much. Yeah. And I think he could be that much.
Well, Juve's got an incredible ability to get players to buy in immediately, quickly, and Emre Can did that, and it starts from the top. And I mean, we look back to take your pick, but recently Pavel Nedved's celebration in the stand. He is me. He is all of us.
Like, he's all of us.
He went friggin' Super Saiyan there with his hair there, and he was just screaming and like just losing. And like, you look at the people around him, and they're just like, man. Yeah. And I'm like, that is me, and I love it. And I love it. It starts there. It starts with him, man. But it's cool to see. Yeah, time will tell what ends up happening with these guys. I think it'd be an absolute shame to lose either one of them, but we'll see what ends up happening. We've got the Sunday match against Sassuolo, and over here I call it the espresso matches, because
my God,
3:30 a.m. my
for
time.
You.
It'll on the West Coasters over here, so it's either. That's where we fall into, do we hang out with the boys and drink and just stay up till 3:30 and watch game, or do you go to sleep a little earlier, try to wake up for whatever? I don't know. I usually crank up the espressos and rock a couple and watch the match, and we'll see what ends up happening. But yeah, this one, we're playing Sassuolo, I'm pretty sure. Coming off this match against Atletico, it's nice that it's a Sunday match. We've been getting a lot of the Saturday ones, so just an extra day from the Tuesday to Saturday to Sunday. Get some rest in. We're at home. Should be a victory. Should be. Sassuolo's had quite a few matches where they've been banging in some goals. Berardi is actually having a good year. I still think pretty confident we'll take this one. Too early to call a prediction yet. I kind of want to see a few things first, but we'll see what ends up happening. Do you want to throw a prediction out there for this one, or you just want to? What do you think's going to happen? Should be a victory.
Well, I mean, to start off with, I'm pretty mad that I probably won't get to see it live. 6:30 for me. On a Sunday, that's the day if anything, I sleep in because it's Sunday.
Buddy, it's 3:30 over here for me.
Yeah, I got to give it to you. I'm
going to call you and wake your ass up.
I'd like to see you try. I would like to see you try. If my girlfriend can't wake me up, there's no way I'm going to answer your phone calls. Honestly, it's going to be a question of the lineup we go with. I know Sassuolo could be a stubborn side, so it's going to be interesting to see. Prediction-wise, after what we just pulled off against Atletico. I'm gonna say it's gonna be another like. It's either gonna be a stubborn win, but I have a feeling it's not. So I'm gonna say a 2-0 win for us.
Nice.
That's a little generous,
Well, I'm kind of
but I
feeling the
have a good
same way
feeling about it.
because we don't know what teams usually do. Just because Sassuolo's been banging in some goals over some matches this season, and they're like sometimes teams want to just lock up against Juve to protect themselves and not be so susceptible. So it depends
Yeah,
how Sassuolo really comes at us. We've
yeah,
also been allowing opposition far too much.
too much. Yeah, you're right.
So depends what we end up doing, and I think the lineup's going to dictate what we end up
Exactly.
doing a lot better. But hopefully, we can build off the fact that we got a big win in Champions League. We did actually move the ball better than we have in quite some time.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
that's the
we
start.
hopefully we just keep taking another step up. But again, something I'm going to watch for, and I'm going to be watching for the rest of the season, especially after Pjanic says how tired he is and stuff, is that what's preventing us from taking the next step? Is sorry, just overworking guys and whatnot,
Yeah,
and see how tired we end up looking. Because for me, it's like doesn't take long in most matches, 5-10 minutes, and like 10-15 minutes in, we're gassed. Like we look not gassed, but you could tell like these guys are slowed down significantly.
yeah,
Like
for sure.
come out 10 minutes gangbusters and then slow. So we'll see what ends up happening with Sassuolo. I would love God, it's like we're all waiting for a breakthrough where we can just like create a lot of chances. We were at the start of the season, we weren't getting rewarded with a lot of goals. Our conversion rate needs to be better. Now our conversion rate's very high because we're not getting many chances. So it's kind of funny. It's kind of switched up there, but we'll
Yeah,
see what ends up happening.
I'm gonna apologize to the
I'll
guys on whoever's watching on YouTube right now. I just need to move positions, but you could
oh
keep talking, so
oh, it's all
it
good,
won't cut.
man.
I'm just
We're
gonna cut my camera for a bit. That's all.
we're wrapping up right now anyways. Just gonna let everybody know, yeah, I'll come at you after the Sassuolo match. There will be a match day thread. Send me your predictions. We'll talk about lineups. If there's any questions, comments you guys have, we'll address them on the podcast after, and I will have another guest with me, as always. So thank you everybody for listening. We'll chat after the match against Sassuolo, and until then, as always, Forza Juve, fino alla fine. Ciao.